What's going on, guys? It's the Crypto Lark here from Wellington. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin news, our roundup from around the world, keeping you up to date with what's happening on our little planet here. Now, quick shout out before that to everyone who is hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel down below, guys. I really appreciate everyone's support, so thank you so much for supporting my channel. And of course, quick disclaimer, this is not professional financial advice. This is just a dude talking about Bitcoin news. Let's get into it. So Bitcoin today, $3,983.02. Now that is not the high of the day. We have seen Bitcoin over $4,000 today, although we are seeing a bit of a retraction at the moment. Now, in lieu of China cracking down on Bitcoin, Japan has stepped in and said, yes, please, we'll take the Bitcoin. Thank you very much. So I'm not surprised to see it happening. Japan has always been one of the biggest buyers of Bitcoin, and to see them step in that vacuum of China, I'm not surprised at all. Now, if we go over to the markets here, and this is just the most recent markets, of course, Bitfinex is taking up 13% of the total market volume. Huge amount of Bitcoin being traded over there for US dollars. Japanese yen is coming in second, and of course, Korean won in third place. No one is surprised there. Now, of course, this has been a real crazy week, to be honest, for Bitcoin and China in general. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin in China in the future. Now, obviously, the exchanges in China have been ordered to close, and there's talk of even peer-to-peer trading being cut out, which is going to be really hard. And they've been monitoring WeChat and trying to cut down on, people trading currencies over there. But, I think in the long term, China's not really going to be that successful at doing this. Yeah, I guess they've been able to ban Facebook and they've been able to ban a lot of other things inside of China, but I feel like the tide of history is moving against the Chinese government. I can't believe that they're still so powerful, but they've been encouraged to be so powerful. Everybody does business with them. Nobody cares when it comes down to the money. Major Chinese Bitcoin conference is fleeing to Hong Kong. Now this is when I saw this, I thought, oh man, I hope they don't get into Hong Kong and start cracking down over there. Now, most of you guys probably know, but for those of you who don't, China operates on a one country, two systems policy with Hong Kong. Now, traditionally, Hong Kong was allowed some sort of democratic self-governance. However, that has been being slowly eroded over time, and things like, the stories about the Chinese booksellers in Hong Kong who have been abducted by Chinese security services and smuggled into the mainland for, selling books in their bookshops that are critical of the Chinese government. That stuff's real, guys. That stuff goes on. This is a very authoritarian regime over in China, and we sometimes forget that. So I hope that these restrictions don't cross the border. Traditionally, China has been, smart enough not to screw with Hong Kong because it's, a big moneymaker for the country. So, be curious to see what happens with that. I really hope that Hong Kong isn't forced into any kind of crackdown as well. That would, of course, have big implications for companies like Bitfinex and quite a few others in the space as well who are based out of Hong Kong. Now, this is not a new law, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Namibian central bank, Bitcoin purchases are illegal. Although they did come out over in Namibia and say, although Bitcoin purchases are illegal, we do like blockchain. We just don't like digital currencies. India's central bank is not comfortable with Bitcoin. Thanks, Indian central bank. And this is a story that you see played out time and time again with central banks. Central banks, reserve banks, they really don't like digital currencies because they can't control it. They cannot control it. Now, there is a group called the Bank for International Settlements. So they say it is the central bank of central banks. They have come out saying that central banks need to wake up to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And I would really agree with that statement. Fighting this is so old school, so stuck in the past. This is not going to be the future central banking. However, all the central bankers and all the banks and all the people who are tied to that system and are making crazy amounts of money obviously don't want their their money train to stop. But it is going to stop at some point. Digital currencies are really disrupting the system here. Interesting. I've been talking a lot about Russia recently, and it's such an interesting story what's going on over in Russia. So this headline here, Russian central bank strikes restrictive tone on cryptocurrency. Interesting. Now, going a bit farther, in Russia, the finance ministry likes Bitcoin and they want Bitcoin, but the central bank hates it. Now that's very interesting. You have two factions within the government who are fighting over Bitcoin. And now we've talked a lot about different stories in Russia recently, how they're cracking down on residential mining, but then they're, they've just set up a giant mining corporation. So there's a lot of back and forth going on in Russia as they're trying to, settle the debate of where Bitcoin is going to go in the future and how the project's going to develop. Now, look, Russia is a big fintech space as well. We haven't actually covered any Russian ICOs or anything. I should at some point. There's definitely a lot of tech development happening over in Russia, and so it'd be interesting, to see where this goes. I don't think Russia's going to ban Bitcoin, even though the central bank might want it. I think they see the value in it, and they might restrict it for regular people, in order to make more money off of it. But I don't think we're going to see a ban coming out of Russia or anything like that, even though the central bank may not like it. Now, leading on from that, 5 leading Russian universities start offering cryptocurrency courses. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. And this is exactly what I'm saying, guys. Russia's not going to ban cryptocurrencies, although they might try to restrict them. Nevertheless, they see the obvious benefit in this. And, Russia's a big tech leader in the world. I don't know if you guys know, there's, massive amount of programmers coming out of Russia. And, they do a lot of tech development there, so it's, to see this happening, that's great news. That's great news. I'd like to see Russia become a bigger leader in the cryptocurrency space. Now, we come to the question, should central banks issue their own Bitcoins? Digital currencies, right? Well, it's an interesting question, and thank you for giving me that question, cetusnews.com, because China has been testing its own national digital currency for a while. Interesting. China bans Bitcoin, but they have their own digital currency potentially. Now look, I don't know if that's the case or not, that they're, trying to restrict other digital currencies so they can make their own digital currency the, the supreme currency of the land, so to speak. But certainly central banks don't want to lose the control. Same questions happening over in India. Now, India hasn't talked about banning Bitcoin or anything like that, but India has done a lot of currency controls recently. Not very long ago, they said that, I think it was the 500 rupee note. I can't remember exactly, but they just said you have a week to turn them in. After that, they're not valid anymore. Caused the crazy chaos in the country. If they issued their own digital currency, I don't know. Are they going to try and, is that a direct competition to Bitcoin again? It's an interesting concept here. Okay, so things you can buy with Bitcoin. I want to talk about a few of these stories because actually it's really interesting. So many places are starting to accept Bitcoin. And look, I know some of the examples we're looking at here are kind of small today, but every little victory in the mass acceptance of cryptocurrency is important. So that is really, really good. So there is a townhouse for sale in the UK, and it's only going to set you back 500 Bitcoin. 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in South London. £1.65 million, or 500 Bitcoin, of course. Now, if you are the kind of person who bought your Bitcoin back when they were, 10 or 20 bucks, that is a pretty smoking deal. Pretty smoking deal for a place in South London. But the one thing I think about when I see this is the people who are selling that house, visionary. If they can get paid in Bitcoin for it, amazing. Spend a few of them, hodl 400 of them, and just, go retire on some Caribbean island or something. Okay. Miami real estate market should embrace Bitcoin, says the Miami Herald. Again, properties are going to start being traded in Bitcoin. We did a story just the other day about a whole apartment complex in Dubai where they're trying to sell the individual condos in Bitcoin. So this is going to happen more and more. And because Bitcoin is such a valuable currency, we will certainly see major purchases like homes, apartments, cars being offered in Bitcoin. Over in South Africa, South Africa's second largest retailer is testing out accepting Bitcoin as payments in their stores. That's really exciting news. And that, really, really brings it on a day-to-day use case for people. If you can go down the street and buy groceries using your Bitcoin, that's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I could walk down the street here and use my Bitcoin. That'd be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. So I'm really happy to see South Africa bring that out. That's super exciting news. When that's much more exciting news than the real estate news, although that's interesting too. But to see something like this really just, every day when you walk into that shop, you see Bitcoin accepted here. That's great. That is really, really great. Okay. Over in Indonesia, Topaz TV is also accepting payments in Bitcoin. That's pretty exciting stuff too. So again, more and more things are being accepted. Over in Australia, mates. I love this. Of course, the picture for Australia has to be a coin with kangaroos jumping on it. Over in Australia, they are putting a bill which has been introduced into the parliament to get rid of the double taxation on Bitcoin. So currently in Australia, when you buy a Bitcoin, you have to pay tax, and when you use your Bitcoin to buy something, you have to pay another tax. So they're going to try and eliminate the first tax. So when you buy something with your Bitcoin, then you'll pay the sales tax on it. But you don't have to pay the sales tax to buy it, because it's not like buying a phone. It's more like exchanging money. Like if you go to a money changer, they don't charge you 10 or 15% sales tax, right? And that's what has been happening with Bitcoin previously. And so that's going to be brought in and changed. So that's really good news. That shows that Australia is getting much more serious about, real adoption of Bitcoin and of using Bitcoin. So that is fantastic. Well done, Australia. Really like that news. That's really good. Really, really good. And of course, just one other news about Australia. There is an art gallery over in Melbourne. You can now buy your fine art using Bitcoin. And again, most of what we've talked here today about is really high-end stuff. You can buy fine art, you can buy houses, and things like this. But to me, that, like I said, the most exciting story is the supermarket. If I can go buy a loaf of bread using Bitcoin, then we're going to take off. I'll buy some fine art using Bitcoin too. Rock that out, absolutely. But it's got to be both. It's got to be used everywhere and accepted everywhere. This was an interesting story as well. Bitcoin in the browser, Google, Apple, and more are adopting crypto-ready APIs, so we might see super ease of use coming to a browser near you. So stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. That would be really, really exciting to see. When you want to go pay for something, you see a drop-down option. Oh, pay in Bitcoin. Done. It's going to go mainstream, guys. It's more and more people every single day are finding out about it. And finally, we're going to talk just a quick bit about a little bit of price news for you guys. Obviously, with the massive retraction that the market had the other day, we got down below 3,000 for a little bit there. Of course, now we're back up to around 4,000. And, the road is clear, to be honest. Max Kaiser is coming out saying $6,000 is on the way. I would not be surprised, to be honest. I would not be surprised at all. And of course, Tom Lee, the Bitcoin bull, he is saying Bitcoin is going to $25,000. $25,000. And then on. And then on. The sky is the limit in so many ways with Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin starts getting used to buy bread in every supermarket around the world, you bet your bottom dollar that, you know, if you can spend 10 Satoshi or 5 Satoshi and buy a loaf of bread, you can better bet that Bitcoin itself is going to be worth like $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $1 million of Bitcoin. And look, that might be 15, 20 years down the road. But it's coming, guys. It's coming. You know, to be able to get involved in cryptocurrencies now, if you're watching this video today in 2017, or you're watching this video in 6 months in 2018, or in a year and whatever, you're still ahead of the curve, guys. You're still ahead of the curve. We are such a long way away from mass adoption, but at the same time, we're on the edge of mass adoption, you know? So we're still here. We're still at the start of it. But the race is starting, so you know it's time to get involved and do it if you haven't got involved yet. Anyway, guys, that is all from the Crypto Lark for today. I hope you enjoyed the news roundup. It's always so interesting for me to see what's going on around the world with cryptocurrencies, and especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin around the world, such a great thing. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.